All right, good morning. Welcome to Market Day Report. Unfortunately, you got me all day today, so hopefully we have some fun here and get these numbers to you. We've got a USA report, obviously, at 11. So I'm Scott Shelley, otherwise known as the Cow Guy, and I really appreciate you tuning us in. I'm going to try to make you stay with us all day. How's that sound? Let's take a look at what we did overnight and take a look at these markets, starting with corn, up 2 3/4. Just a little bit better, 7.60 in that May. But look at the D's, up 1.5 cents, 7.10. So we're holding on to that 7 handle. But these could all change after this report. We get at 11 Central. So sometimes I laugh at myself about everything we say now probably will mean nothing at 11:01, but who knows? How about soybeans in Chicago? That's 13 3/4 cents higher in that May contract, 16.59 1/4. And then let's go down to, say, Nove beans, 14.74 folks. The high was 14.75 3/4. We're making a run towards that $15 level. Once again, 8 1/4 cents higher, Nove new crop beans. All right, this is where the wheels fall off usually. Let's take a look. 11 3/4 cents higher in the Chicago wheat. 10.31 3/4 is last, unless we go down to, say, March. Let's go out to, this is a little bit more of a different trade here today. They got the fronts above the back. So we got March only up 6.5 cents, 10.17 3/4. So we'll see if that Goldman roll continues today or any more bear spreading. But right now, that's a big bull spread. Let's take a look at hard red wheat in Kansas City. 7.5 higher in the May, 10.78 1/4 is last, and that's about where we're at all the way through the curve there. You go out the deferreds, we do lose a little bit in March by a couple of cents, but that's not that big of a deal. Spring wheat in Minneapolis, what do we have happening there? 8.5 cents higher in the May, 11.08 even, and they're all about 8 to 9 cents higher across the curve. Now, don't pay attention to March. That hasn't traded yet. That's why it looks like it's down 3 3/4 cents, but that's just because there's not a lot of volume there right now. How about cotton? Cotton's going to be up just a tad here, 69 points in that May contract, 133.89. But we're also looking at D's. That's up 42 points to 115.11, above that 115 level. All right, let's bring in our next guest analyst. That's Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. Good morning, Brian. Well, I guess, like I said, at 11:01, whatever we say right now is going to probably be meaningless. And so you can either talk about the golf or you can talk about baseball. What do you want to do?
Well, I'm not an expert at the golf at all, and baseball, it's too early to care, I guess, for me. But
so what are your thoughts?
Good morning. You look at, you're right about these markets. I think you're going to see probably some real choppy action. We're higher going into this report. I don't know that this thing is going to be a real market mover. So you may have kind of a buy the rumor, sell the fact type of trade for the USDA Titan U.S. corn and soybean balance sheets in today's report. And I think that's the reason why we saw beans up sharply yesterday and overnight, anticipating that move. South American production numbers from the government, as far as Brazil's soybean production, they're at 127, and CONAB yesterday was in the 122 range. So USDA definitely needs to come down. But again, I don't know if it's going to be a real surprise to the trade or anything that's going to shock the trade into seeing a big move. So we're probably going to be left with, some positioning ahead of the report, some buy the rumor, sell the fact type of trade after the report. And then, even an hour later, we're probably going to be looking at weekend positioning and an eye on what's happening with weather, as that's starting to become very important across the Midwest and dry conditions in the hard red wheat belt and too wet conditions in a lot of the Midwest right now.
Well, you're 100% correct. And I've been saying it to myself that, look, we've been talking about interest rate hikes with the Fed. We've been talking about Russia, Ukraine. We've been talking a lot of stuff, but we haven't really talked about Mother Nature here in the U.S., right? Because obviously we could see some planting delays. It's cold and wet, and I don't want to get too wound up in planting progress because generally speaking, we do plant a corn crop, but it's just what the yield might be whether we get it in early or not. But we're really going to focus on what we got going on here. And you'll notice, even on the news channels out there, we've stopped doing a lot of that international stuff, and they've started focusing back here on the States too. So I think that once we get through this number, you're right, we're going to start to focus more and more on what our weather is going to be like here, because Mother Nature needs to really kind of comply, I think, because I'm about to do this on my show tonight. But there's been more and more talk of a famine. We had the gentleman in charge of food with the UN came out on Thursday or Wednesday and said, and I thought this was pretty shocking, Brian. He said, we're going to have to start taking food away from the hungry to feed to the starving. Now, that's pretty bad, right? And then the last thing I saw was, because gas prices were so high, was I just got back from paying my heating bill, so I'm glad that I have a nice warm place to starve to death in. So this food thing is going to be playing on and on and on. And our farmers, our producers, our ranchers, they're right in the middle of it, the epicenter. So that's one of the things I want to keep my thumb on. All right, we're going to go away. Don't move. We're going to pay some bills. We're going to come back and talk more with Brian Hoops after this. Welcome back to Market Day Report. I'm Scott Shelly, otherwise known as the Cow Guy. I'm in for Marlin today. He's on assignment, right? So digging up some good dirt, giving us some good information next week. All right, let's see what the livestock are doing. That's another one of the things that the Cow Guy likes to see. How about what the live cattle did overnight? 30 cents higher in that April. I mean, this was a quiet market yesterday too, folks. If you look at, say, the range on the day, there was only about 50 cents yesterday. So we closed this afternoon. It was we didn't trade overnight, actually. They don't trade this overnight. This is yesterday's closes. Mixed market, very quiet. The change on the day, not a lot. So 30 cents, we closed 30 cents higher in April, 138 even. But I wanted to highlight the fact that the range was so tight, even down all of those delivery months, we didn't really have a lot going on. How about feeder cattle? That was kind of the same yesterday. We did have a little bit of bull spread, bear spreading, selling the fronts to buy the backs. Look at the October up $1.75 as well as SEP up $1.80. But we had that April off 70 cents to 156.40. Good premium back there from April out to October. But again, that was another quiet one for us in the feeders. And then lastly, we had lean hogs. Lean hogs closed the day mixed as well. I called that the old bookends, right? We had April and August up and everything in between lower. So April was up 30 cents to 99.05. We had August out there up 15 cents. But look, again, I don't want to really read too much into this because we can look at this ad nauseum and really kind of drive ourselves crazy. But just a quiet day, not a ton going on. But 99.05 was the April close, and May closed at 108.32. Let's get back to Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, did you see anything in the livestock trade yesterday that I didn't see, or was it just kind of quiet?
It was quiet. It could be quiet again today. The couple things key points of interest that we're telling our clients this morning is steer weights came down last week 6 pounds. They're still well above last year's levels. I think 11 pounds heavier at 910. So it's an area, it's an area that needs to be watched. If we can bring these weights down, which we have been the last 2 weeks, that's certainly a positive as we work through some cattle. And we are also putting together a pretty strong weekly kill schedule for this week. About 476,000 head have been killed through Thursday. If we can put together a good Saturday kill, there's no reason to think we won't be real close to 650,000 killed for the week. And that's kind of the magic number that we need to see each week to get through some of these bigger supplies that we are contending with right now. There's a lot of cow slaughter being done, a lot of cattle being moved off of wheat pastures and off of areas that just don't have any pastures because of drought conditions. And that's increasing our numbers that we have to kill through. And if we can get through that in pretty good shape, we should see some sort of a rally in this cattle market. We've been steady in the cash for 5 consecutive weeks. At some point, that's going to change, and we think it's going to be to the upside here in just a week or two.
All right, that's excellent content. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. Thank you. We'll bring it back to Nashville so I can throw this over to Janet.